with us. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. And this segment, you know, how we do it, it's a Lagos segment. We talk about everything that concerns Lagos and, of course, more. This morning, we're looking at community safety, police youth partnership for social reform. And when we talk about community safety, the conversation often begins with the police after something has already gone wrong. But what if we started much earlier with prevention, trust, and meaningful engagement with young people? Cultism, drug abuse, cybercrime, violence, and other social vices are increasingly threatening the future of our young people, and tackling them cannot be left to the police alone. Today, we're looking at the power of police-youth partnerships in building safer communities and driving social reform, as I said earlier. And seated here with me is this beautiful young woman. She is the superintendent of police Orvenonne, Ikwen. She's national coordinator of the police campaign against cultism and other vices, POCACOV, which means police campaign against cultism and other vices. You're welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. I'll be starting with you because I think I asked the question off camera, behind the cameras earlier. And, you know, first, let me congratulate you on your appointment as National Coordinator of POCACOV. That happened
POCACOV.
in POCACOV. That happened in June, right?
My
June
appointment?
Yes, June 2026.
No, it's in November.
No, okay, November 2025.
25, yes.
So, when you look at the responsibility before you, what is the biggest problem you believe should be solved, you know, immediately?
Okay, so let me thank you, Bimpe. Let me first of all, you know, talk about POCACOV. POCACOV is Police Campaign Against Cultism and Other Vices.
Other vices, yeah.
POCACOV. So we are a flagship initiative of the Nigerian Police Force that is solely concerned about how to prevent crime, preventive policing. Preventive policing. Okay. Under the visionary leadership of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Olatunji Wiwa-Disu, PSC Daga NPM. The Nigerian Police Force is strengthening its community preventive policing by recognizing that security can only be achieved by the police alone. And so that's why we have the preventive units, which POCACOV is driving. Okay. And so you talked about challenges. What are the biggest challenges
that you think should be solved immediately?
Oh, yes. I mean, it has to be with recognizing that security is everybody's responsibility, and that community members are partners in ensuring that we have a safer community.
Just to have a safer community. So what is this problem with the youth and the police that, you know, that they don't seem to have a cordial relationship? You know, every time online we get to hear, oh, the police hires this youth in his car, asking him, you know, all manner of questions. Oh, where did you get that car? Where did you get the one? What exactly is this thing between the police and the youth?
Well, like I always say, it might sound funny, but the relationship between the police and the public is like husband and wife. I mean, there's no divorce. We are going to be together forever. Okay. Because the police is a product of the, you know, members of the public. The police is the public is the police. So, I mean, it's natural to always have, even among siblings, you could always have one or two disagreements. Doesn't mean that we are not partners. So what POCACOV is doing is recognizing that partnership, that young people are not just existing, they are partners in security. Okay. And so POCACOV is changing that narrative of members of the public, or particularly young people, looking at us as rivals. It's changing the narrative by, you know, explaining to them and giving them scenarios that we are together in this progress. Okay.
So aside from POCACOV, let's look at the home front, the basics, the background of where this youth come from. At what point do you think, you know, parents, you know, schools should not come in raising awareness against this other vices and, of course, cultism?
You know, family is the first line of prevention. If a father and mother are paying attention at home, certain crimes will not escalate. And so that's why we always emphasize their relevance, their importance, their roles as partners in security. And so just recognizing that, first of all, the home is the first place where you begin to see these signs is key. And during our engagements, we always have discussions with parents. We organize different engagement, community engagement with parents, where we always emphasize the importance of, working together. So a simple awareness of looking at your child behaving differently or the kind of friends that he keeps you aware. And once you see these early signs, remember, the whole point is of what POCACOV believe is, if we can reach that young person before the crime reaches that person, what happens? We don't only prevent crime, we have potentially saved a life and, furthermore, build a safer community. So we always recognize and talk to parents as well to know that you are the first line of prevention. And so once you're able to recognize those early signs, it makes it easier. Okay,
for you talking to the parents now, do you think there has been an issue or challenge from the home front? Is that why you're talking to the parents now, because of all these vices we have now?
Oh, I'll tell you a story. Something happened in Niger State just 2 months ago. A young boy, about 15 years, we went for an intervention in the school. We discovered that during our discussion, he was isolated. So because our personnel were trained, we were able to recognize that. We called him aside and asked him what's happening. At first, he was recalcitrant. He didn't want to tell us what happened. But after a while, he was able to open up. Apparently, what happened was he was involved in, Yahoo with his friend, where, this is a 15-year-old boy who saw his friend holding an iPhone 13. And in the quest to get the iPhone 13, his friend introduced him to one Baba. And the Baba said, okay, I'm going to give you this iPhone 13 with some money, but the condition is you cannot cut your fingernails. And so when he actually went through with it, got the money, he went home and he was with a new phone. So if his mom had seen the phone and his dad had seen the phone, they should have raised questions. In this particular scenario, what happened was that the father was even collecting. When we met with the father, he admitted that, yes, I saw my son with this money. I was even collecting some funds. But the mom did not. The mom kept asking, where are you getting this money from? But she didn't push for that, because if she had pushed for that, she should have found out, why are you getting this? Where are you getting the money from? So it took our intervention in that particular case to be able to even resolve the matter. So we had to bring the parents in, we had to trace the Baba, and we had to resolve the matter.
Talking about resolving the matter, when you're saying, oh, don't do Yahoo, don't join cultism, what are you offering them?
Alternative pathways, where they can have identity. Young people are very energetic. Young people have a lot of time in their hands. And if you're channeling this energy towards something productive, it makes it safer for them. So what POCACOV is offering is a constructive, or the platforms, a safe platform where these people can belong. A safe community. Now they want to belong somewhere. Instead of just leaving them without direction, we offer them community where they can come. For instance, we have what we call POCACOV clubs in schools, and so POCACOV clubs is a safe community where we provide mentorship and leadership, in various schools. So through those platforms, those are ways that we can also guide them. We also provide alternative pathways like skills acquisition. We partner with governmental and non-governmental organizations for skill acquisition as well. Because if you have something that you're doing, you won't have time for some bad vices.
But once you take this initiative to schools, like you have started, how do you identify a child who is just simply rebellious than the one, walking towards crime?
That every child is different. Even as a mother, you'd have 5 children, you have 5 different children. Even as twins,
of course, they are different.
You could have different personalities. But sometimes we often, you might not know that a particular child who is very opinionated, people can think that child is stubborn. But in that being opinionated, it means that you are someone that has a strong will, and it could be a strength. It's first of all understanding the strength of this child and the weakness of this child, even as parents.
Okay, so what are the telltale signs, you look out for, or parents should start looking out for?
We always advise them to look out for withdrawal. You see a child who is very active, who is always very excited about, events are coming up, but all of a sudden the child is withdrawn, just like what I told you about the child that happened in Niger State. He was withdrawn. He wasn't listening to our message. It could also be a child who is also keeping late nights, a child who is also keeping bad friends as company.
Yes. So those
are some of the highlights you can look out for.
Sometimes we misjudge, these kids by what we see. You talked about being withdrawn. What about their phones? So how do parents identify or know or keep a tab? I'm talking about not children now. I'm talking about teenagers, or those undergraduates. How do they keep a tab on what they are doing online?
Like you rightly said, when it comes to online presence, most times those whatever they are seeing online, you really don't have control over it.
Exactly.
But what I always tell parents is ensure that you raise children that would behave properly even when you're not there. I mean, you won't be with your kids every time. They will send them to universities, sometimes even to boarding school. How is your child behaving when you're not there? So it starts from the foundation, building that, safe space, having conversation with that child. Now, sometimes parents, we push our children away and they share experiences with younger ones or their friends who don't know any better. So you have to educate them of the consequences, and that's what POCACOV does also. When we go to schools, we don't just, go there. We have engagements and discussions because information is key and it's power. If they understand the consequences of some of these things, they'll take good decisions.
Okay. You said they'll take good decisions, and of course, taking this initiative, into schools. How well, have you built this trust, with children or with the young people that even if they are not the ones involved or they know their friend or their peers, involved in all these crimes, how well have you built this trust, or how well are you building this trust for a young person to walk up to your office and say, I'm here to report this. I have seen so.
Trust is not something that happens overnight. Trust is built through a process, through continuous engagement with these people, And so far, I would say there's a significant increase in that trust because we are now getting people to speak to us about certain things. So when we go to these schools to engage, we drop our phone numbers, and you'll be surprised some of the calls that we receive. And sometimes you'll be very surprised that things that these people would not ordinarily tell their dad and their mom, they'll tell us, because they feel like we come from a professional angle and they're able to share some things with us. So, it's a continuous process.
So how much do you engage young people in being part of this initiative rather than always taking what you have to them all the time?
First of all, recognizing that they are partners. It means that when you're discussing with them, you leave the options on the table. How do we make this better? It goes beyond just talking. You have to understand factors that even make them behave the way they behave. You also have to understand that there are intergenerational conversations that must happen. Because the generation of your parents and this present generation, it's not the same. So they have to be conversations to understand, the point that they are also coming from. The unique thing about this generation is that they are very vocal. They'll tell you how it is.
Very vocal, they're very expressive.
They're expressive. And so they are willing to have those conversations. So we go on with through the journey with them. And we say, how do we make this better? So by recognizing that they are partners, you'll be surprised what they can do.
Okay. Do you have repentant young people? Do you have them with you?
Honestly, we do.
You do. So how well do you integrate them into what you do?
Okay, so we have people we call ambassadors, people who have repented. Ex-cultists, drug abusers who have repented, and in our team we call them ambassadors. So when we go to these outreaches and engagement, we are sure to go with them because sometimes it's better for them to hear from the experiences of these people who have actually gone through this. So, it's one's life, and everybody has a right to renounce whatever he wants to renounce. And the fact that he comes out openly to say, look, I stand against this, We have a particular partner that we have who has an NGO in Rivers State. He's even one of our ambassadors in Rivers State as we speak. He used to abuse drugs, and after a while he felt it was important for him to give back to the community by opening his own NGO. And we partner with him, ensuring that when we have people who need help, we send those people to those rehab centers. You know, so these are people who are independent, who have renounced it on their own. So what we do was we just incorporate them into POCACOV system, so they can also go out and speak against these things.
Okay, let's move away from relationship with the police. Let's look at some specific pressures this confronting young people. Drug abuse and cultism, they work hand in hand. How do you, which usually comes first, and how can that quickly be identified, you know, and then you put a stop to it before it aggravates into cultism?
You know, like you rightly said, it comes together. Because if you're a cultist, you do drugs. You know, so one cannot even do without each other. But you could have situations where you have people who are drug abusers who are not cultists. We had a scenario of a young girl who abuses drug. You know, we had to intervene in that particular case because we saw her with some drugs, you know, and she told us the reason why she started abusing the drug.
A lady?
A lady, young girl, about 16 years.
16?
In, I think, Ogun State, yes.
Is she in university?
She was just a young girl who, I mean, our patrolmen were on the road. And so when she saw our patrolmen,
she ran.
She was very uncomfortable. And so when they saw it, they quickly called us POCACOV, and then we were able to intervene in that matter. So we had to take her to rehab and all of that. She's not a cultist in that particular scenario. So, but in cases where you have someone who is a cultist and who is also a drug abuser, it can be very complicated, you know. But I mean, what we do is, first of all, catch them young. We are more of preventive, ensuring that you don't even get into cultism in the first place. Because sometimes the consequences are irreversible. When I mean irreversible, I mean you could have those marks. We've had people who are ex-cultists who will tell us we have regrets because sometimes when we stare at these marks on our body, then we can't take it away. So what POCACOV focuses really on is early intervention, catch them young, and that's the message we are preaching.
We have a lot of young people, you know, involved in this substance abuse. Why is this, you know, on the increase lately? Because you just mentioned a girl of 16. Yeah. There was a day I saw one lady, very young girl too, online. Hers was, you know, drug abuse and of course prostitution. And she was just about 14, going on 15. So how did we get here? Are we treating this issue really, really as a global issue, as an emergent, yes, that's the word. Are we treating it enough in Nigeria as an emergency?
You know, like I said earlier, by recognizing that security is not only for the police alone, it helps community know that they are involved in ensuring their security. So that's why we involve community leaders. We involve traditional rulers, religious leaders, different organizations. We're saying, don't leave this for the police alone. You know, it's a call for, you know, collaborative responsibility. And that's why we keep preaching that message. And that's why we always ensure to collaborate with different organizations. So when we recognize that, then it's a collective effort. It means that even in churches, we are preaching against it. Even in our mosque, we are preaching against it. Even when we are gathered as community leaders, we are preaching against it as well.
And how well has that worked, you know, when you work with this different institutions you've mentioned, the community leaders, the churches, the mosques, you know, how well, you know, what are the indicators that, you know, this interaction has really been positive?
It has been very positive because we've discovered that in certain areas where we have these messages preached, we notice a significant reduction of crime in that area. So those are one of the ways that we also identify it. So we also always make them understand that, of course, these are consequences. If we don't get rid of this type of crimes in your area, these are potential risks that it's going to happen in your area. You know, so by the time you're able to lay this down for them, they will understand that, look, we need to do this. We need to preach the message. We can't leave this for the police alone.
So what's the role of peer pressure now? those who those who hang around, you know, their friends, you know, their schoolmates or the people they hang around with, even in the community. What is the role of peer pressure in children or the youth that engage in drug abuse and, of course, cultism?
So the issue of peer pressure would always be there. There would always be friends who want you to do things that are not right. And so that's where POCACOV comes in. We are saying you are your friends. Come and join us. Come and join our clubs. Come and be ambassadors, volunteers with POCACOV. And when you have us as, you know, a safe environment, what that means is that you wouldn't want to belong somewhere else. And also, when you recognize that these things are harmful, when your friends begin to come with all of those offers, then you will know this is a dangerous game.
Okay, sorry, someone just sent a question and said, you know, do they help or have rehabilitation centers for youth with drug use? Okay,
so, you know, POCACOV is looking towards having our rehab centers. However, for the time being, we work with rehab centers that already exist.
Okay.
We know that we partner with NDLEA, they have rehab centers. So when we have issues of drug abuse, we also connect with them as well. We have NGOs who have rehab centers that we also connect with.
Okay, so let's talk about technology, which is also your specialty.
Yes.
Because I saw somewhere, a little bit told me that you have a PhD in technology. So let's look at artificial intelligence and how that can help you fight this, fight this fight.
You know, technology is something that is here now, and who knows how the progress is going to be in future. I mean, before now, we never used to have, you know, AI, but now we have even robots, even in our homes. So we also see how countries have been able to take advantage of technology in advancing their economic growth. And we also recognize that Nigerians are very great, talented people who are innovators.
Sure.
So what we also do in POCACOV is ensuring that we, you know, tune their minds towards using technology to our advantage. You know, we shouldn't be known for, like, when you travel out of the country and you say you're a Nigerian, you shouldn't be known for a particular vice or whatever it is. You should be known for something very great and take advantage of technology. So we highlight technology a lot. Even some of the skills that we offer, it's IT skills as well. We empower these youth. We partner with IT companies to see how we can also empower the youth as well. We also take advantage of data science. We leverage on data science to be able to get the early warning signs of different areas.
Okay, we also want to find out how you use technology to prevent crime, because your initiative is about prevention. So where does technology come in here, you know, to prevent, you know, the use?
Okay, so that's what I said.
Of drugs and of course.
I mean, there are indicators in different areas. Indicators where we use data science.
You use data
science. Yes.
Okay.
You know how AI works is it works with historical data, what data it has. Then it used to predict, okay, these kind of things are going to happen in this area.
Okay.
Now we have apps where you can, you know, key in certain issues or certain type of crimes are happening in those areas. And so by the time you put in those data, what happens is it highlights certain areas with certain type of risk. So what POCACOV would now do is to channel certain intervention level in those places. For instance, you can have a situation where you have a particular type of crime in the north and a particular type of crime in the south. So your interventions now will be tailored towards the intervention in those areas based on the type of crimes that you've seen through your applications. Okay,
I like the fact that earlier you said, you know, you empower, you know, this youth, you know, so then the way they receive it. Of course, every youth, they love technology, and of course, like you said earlier, technology has come to stay. Let's talk about social media. Social media, you know, can connect people to opportunities, but can also expose them. So how do you now, you know, differentiate, you know, or teach them, you know, that look, not everything on social media is good?
Okay. So first of all, we also have our awareness campaigns that we do on social media as well. We understand that the social media space has a lot of content. I mean, some might be bad, some might be, negative, some might be positive. So what we do is we look forward to, actively engage with young people through social media by having active campaigns, positive videos. We do a lot of AI videos as well to, educate young people, especially the younger ones. We have even some cartoons that we do in a show. Yes, some cartoons that we do, and these things are for children are very catchy for them. So we do some pictorial campaigns, educational campaigns to young people to educate them of the consequences. So we understand that yes, this platform can also be used as a tool. So we also use it for our own advantage by populating it with positive awareness.
Okay, there's this common saying, devil finds work for the idle hands. That is why some young people can get involved in these vices. What about those that are going to school, those that are self-employed and, and are still involved in all of this? So how do you tackle this crime prevention with those who are fully engaged and not the ones that do not have something they're doing? Okay, so about the story of the young man in Rivers State who owns a rehab center, there's something he told me that struck me. He said he was a young boy who was in the Covenant University, and he went to the UK for his master's. And while he was in the UK, he started doing drugs. And he said particularly, yes, masters. He said particularly that he, of course, obviously, for someone who has attended Covenant and is in UK for masters, it means that there's money. There's money, Or was it access to too much? So what do you explain? How do you explain that particular scenario? So you could go as far as saying it could be peer pressure that could have, made him to do whatever he did. This is story is actually what he tells people. So there are no factors to why someone is going to go into crime. Someone could come from a very rich background and be abusing drugs, and also someone from a poor background abuse drugs. There are no factors behind it. So what we also do is that we ensure that we inform them of these consequences, and the way of informing them is by preaching the message, particularly through people who have gone through the experience. He told me that he lost over 5 of his friends. 5 of his friends did not make it. So when you hear these stories, these real life stories, it changes your decisions. So we allow them to tell their own stories. And when people hear this, when young people hear these stories, they sure would not want to make the same mistake. Someone just sent in this question. She said, let's bring this conversation to Lagos. What would you like to see change in the relationship between Lagos communities, young people, and the police over the next year? What I would like to change? Of course, it's obvious because we want partnership. We want a situation, we want a police force where members of the public and particularly young people would also be partners, will see themselves as partners of the police. The CP Lagos State, Commissioner of Police Lagos State, CP Tijani Fatai, is very community oriented. There are several programs that he has held. Yes. They had a program in Lagos just recently with the Educational District 6, where we trained parents and teachers. We had a platform where parents and teachers were invited, and we trained them on some of these signs of vices. That held in June this year. In July of this year also, we had a training for NURT members, NURTW members, RTEAN members as well, bringing everybody together. So those are some of the programs tailored here in Lagos to ensure that we carry everybody along. Even on Children's Day, May 27th, we had a Children's Day program held at Apapa Igamu. Yes, where we had all of the children from different schools come together. I think was also supported by the chairman of Apapa Igamu as well. So those are partners. Imagine a chairman coming and saying, I need this in my community. So we're also calling on more of those kind of local LCDA to also come in and see how they can partner with POCACOV to organize programs in their different communities. So I look forward to a police force where members of the public, in Lagos particularly also, can see police as partners and not enemies. I'm glad you said that, because I also want to ask you that, when are we going to reach a point where we'll see our policemen and say, hello, how are you? And not us having heart attack.
I'm a policewoman and we're having a conversation and I'm sure I'm your friend already. You know,
Not
and
you.
you
You know what I'm talking. You know the kind of policeman, you know, I'm talking about. Because this has been a continuous conversation on the social media space that, look, Nigerian police, they need to appear more friendly. They need to, you know, they need to be youth-orientated. They need to understand that, no, it's not everybody that has dreads, that is criminal. It's not anybody that any youth that is driving a fancy car, that is a yahoo yahoo. There was one I even saw, a young lady. They were harassing her. Where did you get this car from? Where did you get this money? You know, when are we going to have a Lagos or a Nigeria where we will see our policemen and we'll give them a smile?
Okay, so the good thing is that we have an IGP who is very interested in the growth of the police force and also very interested in the partnership between the police and the public. And like he will always say no to impunity. He's someone who doesn't tolerate any form of unruly behaviors by members of the police. And that's why we have the Complaints Response Unit, CRU, which is always active 24/7, all day long, all year long. We have our phone numbers on our internet spaces. I mean, you can always report cases where you have such encounters, and it will be, you know, treated accordingly. And even the processes are transparent and you know, for members of the public to see. And a lot of people are already testifying of such, you know, reports when they have it. These are processes that were put in place to ensure that we have that kind of relationship. I mean, like I told you, it's a process where we can build that trust back.
And just before we go, what is that one thing you'd like to say to a young Nigeria to remember when they are faced with the temptation of drug abuse?
Remember,
or even cultism.
Okay, so my last word is, you are a Nigerian, you are great. You are bigger than that vices. Your future is greater than that vices. So when you understand that your future is great, you wouldn't want to go into that vices. So my last message to you is, don't make decisions that you will regret later. Ensure that you save your future by making the right decision.
Ensure that you save the future by making the right decision. Thank you very much, Orvenonne. Hey. Please say it again.
Orvenonne.
Orvenonne. Ikwen. She's a national coordinator, police campaign against cultism and other vices. And we've been talking about community safety, police youth partnership for social reform. We'll go on a short break. When we come back, the conversation continues.